The S23 Ultra has been out now for 4 months, and I have been using it since its release, but I have to admit that I've been hiding a kind of dirty little secret about switching from my iPhone 14 Pro Max to my S23 Ultra. So, it is time to come clean. Now, browse around on YouTube for just a few minutes, and you'll quickly discover a raft of tech reviewers who have claimed to switch from their iPhone to the S23 Ultra. Now, I did switch to the S23 Ultra. The problem was, I genuinely wasn't expecting this phone to be anything special. Like, after using last year's S22 Ultra with the Exynos chip inside, I was expecting to review this phone, love a lot about the phone, but ultimately put it back on the shelf when I realized that once again, an Android phone was being crippled by a crap chipset. What I wasn't expecting was to discover a phone that was as fast and as fluid as my iPhone 14 Pro Max, with a better battery, better cameras, and overall, just bloody impressive. But because I wasn't expecting any of that, my schedule for this channel meant that I was shooting a video all about everything the Apple ecosystem can do, which was a very heavy lift video with a lot of research, and research that meant I was back to using my iPhone for a few weeks. So when I finished those videos, I went to pick up my S23 Ultra again. I thought I'd feel that rush of excitement once again. So as far as the S23 Ultra goes, it is still an expensive phone, though it does cost slightly less than the equivalent iPhone 14 Pro Max, and it comes in a wide range of colors, including some of these online exclusive colors which look absolutely mint. Now, I love having this like bold red color. It's so unboring and un-Apple. Samsung still have some of the best trading deals in existence and are currently throwing in freebies like a £200 cashback, 6 months of Disney Plus, discounts on accessories, and right now even a free waterproof speaker. Things that are just unheard of when it comes to Apple. It is a pretty large and heavy phone though. Like, depending on how you look at this, that either screams of the phone being high quality, or it is so freaking annoying as it keeps like pulling down your shorts when you throw the slab of phone into your pockets. If you wear anything other than joggers, you're gonna want to take the phone out of your pocket before you sit down, or you just inadvertently jab yourself in the crotch. And that is before you add a case, which I think is definitely wise with a phone of like this size and this weight. I think a drop at, well, any height will risk scratching the beautiful like exterior or screen of this phone. I've been using this one from Magback for a very long time now. It's a little bit bulky, but I love its party trick. And it still works with all of my Apple MagSafe accessories. But one thing that is quite annoying with the design of the S23 Ultra is the location of the NFC chip. Now, in the iPhone, it's at the very top at the back, so you can just kind of boop your iPhone whenever you need to. But on the S23 Ultra, it's in the middle of the back, which means kind of shifting your grip as though you're like presenting your wallet to the card machine. Just no matter how many times I've used it, I'll never get used to that at all. But otherwise, the design of this phone is one of the best I've seen this year. It's like simple, understated. The camera bumps aren't gigantic and don't collect like a ton of dust like you do on the Pixels or the iPhone. And the display is probably one of the best displays I've seen on a phone so far this year. It is buttery smooth at 120 Hertz, and it is bright enough to see even on the brightest of days, which is something I rarely get to put to the test here in the UK since we don't really have a sun. But this week has been an absolute scorcher, which is probably more like one of the coldest days in like every other country in the world. Now, the only issue I have had with the display is stupidly removing the screen protector that I fitted, and now I have a ton of these like micro scratches on the screen, which are gonna be there forever pretty much. Now, I am probably gonna buy another one of the dome glass screen protectors that I included in my best accessories video, mainly because I found the glue actually fills in a lot of these micro scratches and can bring your phone back to a really nice finish. Other than that, the display is just lovely. It's like bright, it's responsive, the fingerprint sensor is lightning fast, and it doesn't just stop at the lock screen either, because One UI is really, really smooth to use. Like, I've not had a single slowdown, pause, or any issue which I would traditionally see on like most Android devices before. I do personally like swapping out the launcher right away with Nova, just so I can unlock some extra gesture features, so I can have a less cluttered home screen and instead launch apps by just swiping up or down on other apps on the home screen. But overall, the phone works just really, really well. Like, it's also really easy to multitask on here, something that just isn't possible on iPhone, but I find myself using more and more on the S23 Ultra. Being able to use two apps side by side, like either to browse social whilst watching a video or just checking emails whilst doing something else. Now, the customization is something that is really, really fun to begin with. I don't know if I'm old, but I just haven't touched the customization since initially spending that time setting it all up. I just don't have time to sit here for hours fiddling with like wallpapers and icon packs and keyboards. It is great that you can do that if you want to, and I did set up my home screen, a customized lock screen, custom keyboards, and a few other bits when I first picked mine up, but I haven't touched it since. And that is a big reason I hear actually with the whole like Apple versus Android discussion. Like, yes, you have the whole like Apple ecosystem thing, but you don't have customization. And for some people, customization really isn't a huge thing. So it is great there are, options for those who do want to touch and tweak every little detail on their phone. Now, as far as the ecosystem goes, I don't have many other Samsung products. I have like Galaxy Watch, a Samsung TV, the Galaxy Buds Pro 2s, which are really nice, And I have a few Google Smart displays around the house, which are actually really, really great. Like, I've got a morning routine that kicks off every morning that raises the blind in our room. Then the Google Assistant will then read off what's on my calendar, the weather, and like play the latest news. It even sang happy birthday to me on my birthday a few days ago, which was a bit unexpected. But let's talk about, well, what everyone else is talking about, performance. Now, this is the first Android phone that I have ever used, like ever, where I haven't complained about its performance. Like the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chip in here is so good. And it is the sole reason why this phone is actually good. Because what's the point in having all of this incredible hardware and software if they then throw in that awful Exynos chip, which makes the whole phone run like an absolute dog? I've actually heard rumors that Samsung are going to be putting the Exynos chip back into next year's phone. And I personally think that's a really, really bad move for them. Like, even if they did somehow manage to get the Exynos chip to perform as well, it's gonna be a tough sell to those of us outside of the US who've only just had our first taste of what like a flagship Samsung device could do when combined with a flagship Snapdragon chip. Like, particularly when the efficiency and battery life of that chip in this phone is insanely good as well. So I do tend to carry two phones with me nowadays. Right now it is the S23 Ultra and the iPhone 14 Pro Max, because I do still enjoy like the huge myriad of things you can do within the ecosystem. Like, check out the video up here and down below if you want to know what I'm talking about here. But with using both phones, their battery performance, they're both really, really good, but I would still give the edge to the S23 Ultra in regular day-to-day use. Now, the problem you see with most online battery tests is that most of these aren't real-world battery tests. They're probably testing a brand new phone joined to Wi-Fi without even a SIM card connected to it, and definitely no external devices. For example, I noticed an impact in battery life when I connected my Galaxy Watch 5 Pro to the S23 Ultra. It was a small one, but it was noticeable. And now I have my Whoop strap, my Aura ring, headphones connected to my car via Bluetooth, switching on and off between data and cellular, and I just don't get as many hours as people claim to get. It is still easily a full day battery life on a single charge, but it does still need to charge every single night to be able to like get through the next day, which thankfully with the S23 Ultra is a much better experience than the iPhone because it can charge at 45 watts. And actually on a recent birthday trip to Brighton this last weekend, that was really noticeable when I needed to charge both of these phones, and the S23 Ultra was finished in like 1 hour and ready to go, whereas the iPhone would have taken like double the time, like 2 hours. But I didn't have 2 hours, so I left with a fully charged S23 Ultra and a half-charged iPhone. Though I can't wait for the iPhone to switch to USB-C, so I don't have to carry around these stupid, annoying lightning cables just for this one phone. I've actually found myself buying lightning accessories and returning them shortly after now, when I remember that in a matter of months, all of my lightning accessories are now gonna have to be replaced with USB-C ones when Apple launches probably the iPhone 15. So I would rather buy the USB-C accessories and know that at least those have some longevity in them. Thank you, Apple. A huge thank you to today's sponsor, NORDLOCKER, who provides a way for you and your team to store, share, secure, and control access to your business's data, whilst also protecting your data from data leaks, and ransomware, and theft. Small businesses are at the all-time highest risk of ransomware attacks, and NORDLOCKER provides the ultimate privacy and security solution to protect against ransomware attacks. NORDLOCKER is also compliant with many of the government regulations, such as HIPAA and GDPR, in an all-in-one and easy-to-use system. Use it as encrypted cloud storage, secure file share, a data backup solution across Mac, Windows, and Android devices to access your data securely anytime and from any location. Now, using their simple admin portal, you can manage users and define roles and check on storage limits for other users. So sign up for a whopping 3-month free trial, use the link down below, and take the first step in protecting your business's data today. For the S Pen, I genuinely still haven't found a good use for it. I don't actually use it to snap photos. I don't use it to browse the phone or write anything on it. Like, why do that when I find it, faster, if not just as fast, to do what you want with your finger? With like one exception perhaps though, I guess, my kids use it all the bloody time. Like, mostly when we're out and about in restaurants, in which case it's a great way to keep them distracted and quiet. But other times when I'd actually quite like to use my phone, and then it's the choice of, do I want to keep my kids happy, or do I get some work done and risk the tantrum that follows from like saying no? There is one thing though that everyone seems to agree with, and that is that the Android watch experience is not yet up to scratch with the king of smartwatches, the Apple Watch. Now, I've owned and used the Galaxy Watch 5 Pro for a very long time now, and it is great, but it is no Apple Watch. Now, for most people, it's going to be your best bet, particularly if you've never used an Apple Watch before, then this watch will be fantastic for you. But for those of you who have used an Apple Watch, then apparently the equivalent is the Garmin Fenix 7X, which I've been using for around about a week now or so. Now, I do think this is a fantastic watch, and I'm planning to do a full review and a full comparison soon, so subscribe if you want to see that. But initial impressions are really, really good, but for very different reasons to an Apple Watch. But watches aside, the thing that keeps me reaching for the S23 Ultra, even if they're both in my pockets, are the cameras. And I know this is a very subjective and opinions differ between everybody, but these cameras are the S23 Ultra's absolute crown. Like, low light shots look great. Even zooming in using the 10x lens and in low light looks pretty reasonable. Dynamic range is great. Just every shot I get with these lenses looks great, to the point where my wife comments literally all the time now when I post my photos to Instagram, like, oh, can you send those photos to me? I didn't get that with the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Videos are also really great, and I'll show you a few clips that I've taken whilst out and about with these past few weeks. And being able to zoom in using the 10 times lens whilst filming, or 100 times whilst taking a photo, is still actually useful, and it doesn't actually get old. I do have one issue though, and that's when filming and my hand covers up like the mic on the bottom of the phone. It really ruins the audio. Basically a mic on the top, a mic on the bottom, and also a mic on the back, which you use to kind of zoom in when you're zooming into something. Now the issue does still happen on the iPhone, but it is just definitely not as pronounced as you hear on the S23 Ultra. Now, the only thing I can see potentially dethroning the S23 Ultra for me is weirdly the Pixel Fold. I love the foldable form factor. I still have my Fold 4, so I'm really hoping for the Pixel Fold will be all I hope it to be. I've pre-ordered mine, even though it's stupidly expensive, because I love the camera system on the Pixels even more, and I love the Google Assistant Smart features as well. But for now, the Pixel 7 Pro is probably the next best phone, but it can't match the performance and the battery life of the S23 Ultra. So, picking the S23 Ultra back up again, after switching to it when it came out, after making all those videos about the Apple ecosystem, did I feel that rush of excitement? Absolutely. 100% yes, I did. The hype on the S23 Ultra is real. It's a great phone, and if you get the opportunity to pick one up, especially at a discount, then I think this is going to be one of the best phones for quite a few years to come. Don't forget to sign up for your free trial of NORDLOCKER using the link down below, and until then.